Have you ever asked yourself who doesn't deserve your kindness? Even if you grew up with the belief that kindness should be given to everyone, there comes a point in life where your time, your energy, and your inner peace become too valuable to give away so easily. As you get older, you start to understand that kindness isn't always noble. It can be used against you. There are people who rely on your patience, your generosity, and your silence. And the more access they have to you, the more they take without giving anything back. In today's video, we're going to look at 5 kinds of people you need to stop being kind to as you grow older. And these aren't strangers or people far removed from your life. Often, they're the ones who've sat across your table, shared your memories, or lived next door. But if you're not paying attention, these relationships can quietly wear you down. By the time this video ends, you'll have a clear understanding of which behaviors to watch for, why these dynamics leave you feeling drained, and how to protect your emotional well-being, without guilt and without apology. Because this stage of your life isn't about fixing people anymore, it's about preserving your peace. So, let's begin. The first kind of person to be cautious with: the relentless taker. These are the people who only show up when they need something. They don't reach out to connect, or to share joy, or to check on you. When you hear from them, there's always a request attached, a favor, a ride, a loan, your time, and it's always urgent. Take someone like Gloria, 71. For years, she was the dependable one in her family. Need a babysitter on short notice? Gloria will do it. Someone to house sit or pet sit while you're out of town? Gloria never says no. But then her birthday passed in silence. When she caught the flu and stayed in bed for days, no one brought soup, called, or even texted. That's when it sank in. She had become the one everyone leaned on, but no one thought to lean toward. We often feel guilty for pulling back from people like this, especially if they're family. We convince ourselves that being needed is a form of love, that refusing a request is wrong, that eventually they'll appreciate all we do. But here's the hard truth. If someone only seeks you out when they need something, they're not valuing you. They're valuing your usefulness. You're not seen as a whole person. You're seen as a resource. And that's dangerous, especially as you age, because your reserves, your stamina, your patience, even your health, are not what they once were. Giving those away to someone who only takes is like trying to fill a leaking bucket. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. You have every right to say no. You have every right to protect your space, your time, and your calm. And if someone decides to walk away simply because you stopped being endlessly available, that reveals the truth. You weren't loved. You were used. Kindness should never be a weight around your neck. Generosity should never leave you empty. In this chapter of life, every act of giving should also nourish you in return. Number 2. The chronic critic. There's a special kind of weariness that comes from spending time with someone who always points out what's wrong, with your clothes, with your choices, with your past. These people don't shout or curse, but their words sting just the same because they're delivered in small, steady doses, and over time, they wear you down. Picture someone like Raymond, 82, who visits his cousin every Sunday. He brings fresh bread, checks in on the house, and tries to stay connected. Yet every time his cousin finds something to criticize. Your hair looks different. Why'd you sell that old chair? You always take things too personally. At first, Raymond smiled through it and told himself it was harmless. But after years of those visits, he started feeling smaller, doubted his choices more, and lost the joy he once felt. Walking up to that porch, the danger of chronic criticism isn't in the words themselves. It's in the slow erosion of your self-trust. These people mask their cruelty as concern. They say they're just being honest, just helping you improve. But what they're really doing is chipping away at your peace, one comment at a time. And when you let that go unchecked, something inside you starts to shrink. You stop sharing, you stop trying new things, and you brace yourself before every conversation, wondering what they'll pick apart next. At this age, you've earned the right to feel safe in your own skin. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to please. You don't need to explain why you like what you like or live how you live. If someone always leaves you feeling wrong, small, or broken, you owe it to yourself to stop handing them a front row seat to your life. Being kind doesn't mean being available for abuse, no matter how politely it's packaged. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to step back and say, "I'm done letting you rewrite my story in your voice." If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Number 3, the master of guilt. There's a unique kind of exhaustion that comes from being around someone who never raises their voice, never starts a fight, but somehow always leaves you feeling like you've done something wrong. They don't need to shout. They just use a certain tone, a particular phrase, a lingering silence, and suddenly you're questioning yourself. Did you let them down? Were you selfish? Could you have done more? These are the guilt masters, and few things are more emotionally taxing than their quiet manipulations, especially as you age and your emotional bandwidth narrows. Take Margaret, 79. She lives alone and still makes an effort to stay connected with family. But her niece? She only reaches out when she wants something, and when Margaret gently says no, the response is cold, or worse, a passive jab like, "I just thought family would be there when it counts." Margaret isn't saying no to be cruel. She's tired. She's setting limits. But guilt doesn't care about boundaries. It seeps in anyway, telling her she's being difficult or uncaring. What makes guilt trippers so hard to spot is how they use your own strengths against you. Your kindness, your loyalty, your desire to be there for others. They make your limits feel like betrayals. And over time, you begin to over-apologize, over-explain, and over-give, just to keep the peace, even when it leaves you feeling hollow. Here's what you need to remember. Peace doesn't come from overextending yourself. It comes from honoring your needs. You don't need to justify every boundary. You don't owe anyone your comfort in exchange for their approval. If someone's affection disappears the moment you stop bending, it was never affection at all. It was control. So the next time someone tries to wrap their disappointment in guilt, let it be your sign to create even more distance. Because real peace isn't negotiated, it's protected. Number 4, the quiet rival. Not every threat to your peace arrives loud and obvious. Some come dressed in friendship, with a smile on their face and compliments on their lips. But behind it all, there's a subtle, competitive edge. These are the quiet rivals. They aren't just trying to grow themselves, they're trying to make sure you stay one step behind. Think of someone like Helen, 76. After years of neglecting her creative side, she finally joined a local art class. It took courage, but she was proud to show up and try something new. Her old friend Judy signed up too, saying she wanted to support her. But week after week, Judy's support felt off. She'd say things like, "Your painting is definitely unique, kind of wild for someone our age," or, "I love how free yours looks. Technique's not everything, right?" To anyone else, it might sound harmless. But Helen felt it. Every comment chipped away at her confidence, leaving her wondering if she even belonged in the class at all. These types of competitors rarely confront. Instead, they undermine through comparison. Subtle digs, backhanded praise, or stories that always one-up your own. And what's most damaging isn't just their words. It's how they make you shrink. You stop sharing your successes. You question your joy. You learn to stay quiet just to avoid being undercut. But here's the thing. Real friends don't keep score. They don't get brighter by dimming you. In this stage of life, you've earned the right to shine without apology. You've been through too much to waste energy managing someone else's insecurities. So if someone only claps when they're ahead, step back. You deserve to be around people who feel like sunlight, not shade, The ones who cheer when you win, who encourage you to keep going, and who never make you question why you showed up in the first place. That kind of support? It's not just helpful, it's essential. If you're still with us and finding value in these reflections, drop a comment with number 4 so we know you're here. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on future content. Your support helps us keep creating the stories and insights that matter most. Now, let's move forward. Number 5, the passive-aggressive manipulator. Some people don't yell, they don't argue, and they don't confront. Instead, they master the art of silence, sarcasm, and subtle digs that leave you wondering whether you're overreacting. These are the passive-aggressive manipulators, and they are especially dangerous in older age because their behavior can slip under your radar while quietly exhausting your spirit. Think of someone like Harold, 83, who's lived in the same neighborhood for decades. His neighbor Doug always smiles and waves, but when Harold brings up needing help with something small, like moving a planter or lifting a heavy box, Doug chuckles and says things like, "Guess you're finally slowing down, huh?" Or, "I'd offer, but I've got 2 knees that still work, and I'd like to keep them that way." He doesn't refuse outright. He just hides the sting in a joke, and Harold is left standing there, unsure whether he's been insulted or just dismissed. Passive-aggressive people play by different rules. They avoid direct responsibility by pretending they didn't mean what they said. They leave messages unanswered. They cancel plans without explanation, and then, if you bring it up, they flip the script, accusing you of being sensitive. Dramatic or difficult, over time, this wears you down. You start walking on eggshells, trying to avoid setting them off. You tell yourself it's not worth the fuss, but it is. Because the longer you stay in that dynamic, the more you start silencing your own needs just to keep the peace that never really existed in the first place. At this stage in life, peace isn't a luxury. It's a requirement. And anyone who disrupts it with emotional games is not someone you need to keep close. You don't have to respond to every slight. You don't have to teach them how to treat you. You simply step back, make space, and reclaim the quiet they kept stirring up. Because the truth is, a smile without sincerity is just a mask, and you've lived too long to keep accepting counterfeit kindness. Let your final chapters be filled with people who mean what they say and say what they mean. Anything less is noise, and you deserve better. Final thoughts. Now that we've explored these 5 kinds of people, take a moment to reflect. Are any of them sitting too close in your life? Are you spending your energy, your patience, and your time on people who only take, who chip away at your confidence, or who make your kindness feel like a duty instead of a choice? Here's the truth. As you grow older, your peace becomes priceless. You've carried burdens for others. You've forgiven without getting an apology. You've kept quiet just to keep the peace. But you've done enough of that. This chapter of your life isn't about holding on to patterns that hurt. It's about clearing space for what heals. You are fully within your right to guard your peace. You have the freedom to decide who enters your home, your heart, your phone conversations, and your time. Being a kind person doesn't mean being constantly available. It doesn't mean tolerating relationships that leave you emotionally empty. True kindness can exist with clear boundaries, with grace, but also with discernment. And if that means stepping away from someone you've known for years, that's okay. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is finally say, "This isn't serving me anymore." So if something in today's message struck a chord with you, don't brush it off. Sit with it, write about it, and most importantly, act on it. Stop giving pieces of yourself to people who never offer anything in return. These years aren't just about making it through, they're about healing, becoming, and surrounding yourself with people who truly value you. And that begins with letting go of those who never really did. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell us one thing that resonated with you and how you plan to apply it. Your insights matter, and reading your stories inspires us to keep going. If this video helped you in any way, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support allows us to keep bringing you thoughtful, empowering content. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.